Hi everybody. Today I want to share with you the best approach that has been shown to me so far concerning manifestation. Maybe you've also noticed that at a certain level of consciousness, manifesting does not seem to work the way it used to. My metaphor is that the source, Allah, God, Manitou, the Tao, the divine, whatever you want to call it, wants to bait us to come closer and to reunite our personal will with the divine will. So this may be the key, that the more we get ourselves in sync with the source, with the whole, the more manifesting will work. And if we stick to our personal will and we try to be stubborn, then things will work out less and less, and we will maybe even encounter a lot of problems and hindrances. So that being said, you can imagine that I myself spent very little time with manifesting any goals, because in general I do trust that what God has up his sleeve for me is way better than everything I can come up with. But there is a but. I just had a talk with Rupert Sheldrake recently, and he pointed out, which is very true, that God wants us to be co-creators. So that's what this video is all about. If you feel, okay, now it's not just sufficient, it's not enough to just trust, but it's like I'm really being asked, what do you want from your heart? Not from your egoic will, but what do you want from your heart? And so this is what this video and the following method I want to introduce to you is all about. Okay, there is a diagram I want to show to you, and it's taken from the YouTube channel of Curtis Childs. This YouTube channel is called Off the Left Eye, and it deals with the works, the revelations, the writings of Emanuel Swedenborg, a Swedish mystic who lived in the 17th century. And as I came across this diagram, I thought it's really a good illustration of what I want to share with you. I won't go into detail because I'm really not an expert. Please, if you're interested, go to the YouTube channel of Curtis Childs. Okay, Swedenborg states that there are the so-called hells. Most people live there, and from their point of view, life is really arbitrary. It's chaotic, and oftentimes it's experienced really as meaningless. And then there is a smaller number of people who live in the spiritual world, and I'm sure you must be one of them, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. So surely you have already realized that there is the power of your mind, and whatever you think echoes out into the universe and has creative power. So now there is the tendency that our ego thinks, oh wow, that's great, so I will create everything I want. And up to a certain point, this will really, really work. Okay? But as we enter into heaven, and only a fraction of people so far have really achieved that they entered even into the outermost layers of heaven, even those people will realize that heaven is actually governed by God's will. And therefore, we cannot put God in front of our cart. We cannot tell God what to do. So we have to be humble and really surrender our ego to God, which is also the metaphor of Jesus on the cross, and also Buddha, who said enlightenment is the end of wanting. But it's not the end of all wanting, but it's rather that we surrender our wanting to the will of God. And if we go deep enough into the innermost of heaven, then we will find out that actually, ultimately, our own deepest will, your deepest will, and God's will are actually one. Okay? So, therefore, it's really crucial that from now on, if you formulate any wish, anything you wish for, it's really crucial that you always add God, if it is appropriate for me in your eyes. So, what's really important here is that there will be people who live in this realm of the world of spirits, and they will reassure you and try to convince you that everything is possible, that you just need to affirm it, that whatever you can envision and think of will become true. And this is not so. Because those people oftentimes have never really experienced heaven. They have never really surrendered their ego and found out that ultimately nothing can really be achieved without the help of the divine will. So the technique I'm going to show you is in accordance with a heavenly state, because it relies on a very completely expanded consciousness. It relies on your surrender of all the wanting and striving and struggling, as you will see now. So let's start at a point that will probably surprise you. Namely, we will explore the connection and the differences between attention and consciousness. So, first of all, I invite you to observe that your attention is hopping from object to object. And oftentimes it's even very stressful because our mind wants to keep everything safe and under control. And so it can easily happen that this process is very hectic. Okay? So let's start out with this observation, with this investigation. Is it true that there is your attention, which is moving from object to object, and that this is happening within a space, a larger space? And like usually we pay our attention to attention. Yeah, we are dragged around by attention like a dog on a leash from object to object. Look here, look there, what's going on here, and so on and so on. Is there any danger? Do I have to worry about anything? And so on and so on. So, for the moment being, let's just observe the movement of attention, but your main, let's say, focus, because it's not it's not contracted, but it's wide. Yeah. Your focus is on the space itself. This space is pure consciousness. And if you just keep your attention not on attention, but on space, you will find that this is very, very relaxing. And that your whole body relaxes, that it becomes more peaceful, that it's at the same time very energizing, calming. It's like more and more you realize that you're being nourished. That space is not empty, but that consciousness is also the same as light and love. And this light and love is very nourishing, cleansing, and healing. So actually I have tricked you a little bit into healing as well. And so we are not only talking about manifestation, but it's also a healing method at the same time. Which isn't so bad, right? So, let's for another moment just watch, notice how attention is moving within oneness. Because actually there's just one consciousness, and everything that appears, that arises, may it be a thought, a feeling, a sensation in your body, something that's happening in the so-called outside, as a matter of fact, everything is happening within the same space. Maybe you can also observe that when your attention goes inside of your body and then so-called outside, maybe you can observe that there's actually no boundary, that it's seamless. So you may wonder at this point, what does all of this have to do with manifesting? The point is that the more expanded your consciousness is, the more you're in communication with the whole, with all of existence. And then you will come to realize that the whole universe is actually listening to what you wish from your heart. It's not so much listening to what you want with your egoic mind, but it's definitely listening what you want from your heart. And that is very much being supported. So, the more you spend attention to space itself, the more you will find that your everyday life attention, which is normally very hectic and fast and jumping around, it is more and more relaxing, and thereby the space expands. Your consciousness gets more and more open. Okay, so let's move on. Next, imagine you're in a cathedral or in a large concert hall with wonderful acoustics, and you want to think into the vastness of the space. How does that feel? You're in a cathedral or in a large concert hall with great acoustics. and you don't think the way you usually think, if we want something, usually we contract, we start to struggle, to strive, to insist, to pray. But in this case, I want to practice with you and explore how does it feel to think into the vastness of space. So what we're actually trying to do here is to give you a feeling, how is it to just want innocently, like a child. Okay, now we come to the actual heart of the matter, which is your heart chakra. I assume that by now you've become comfortable with not paying attention to attention itself, to all the objects. Just let your attention be free. Let it do whatever it wants. But you keep directing your awareness to the immensity of space itself. And when you now think your wishes into the spaciousness, how does your heart chakra respond? Because this is actually the key, this response of your heart chakra. When you feel joy, when you feel any kind of relief and ease, when you feel peacefulness, when you feel a tingling, some kind of positive reaction from your heart, then you know this is in sync with the divine will as well. It's not just your egoic will, but as your heart responds with joy, with peace, with expansion and so on, you know, you can be assured that you are pretty much in sync with the universe, with the evolution, however you want to call it. So in case you should not feel joy and peace and delight in your heart, you should rephrase your desire. And if you don't know how to, you can ask God in my heart, can you please show me how to formulate my desire so that it's in sync with your will. I hope you can see the main difference between the common way of manifestation and the method I'm showing you here. Usually we feel joy as a person when we think of our wishes and we imagine our desires coming to fruition. But in this case, it's not about the future. It's not about your personal wanting, but in your heart, you are free from your ego. In your heart, you are actually a nobody. And in this way, we make sure that it's not just your egoic will you're trying to manifest, because this, as I mentioned in the beginning, this will work less and less. So just observe, how is your heart responding? And maybe your consciousness is also expanding, everything is opening up whenever you articulate a desire from your heart. Simply have a look. The link to book a session with me you will also find in the video description of this video. Okay, I hope this video has inspired you in many ways. If you have any further questions, requests, please feel free to write them in the comments. Also, if you would like, I'd be glad to support you in your personal manifesting process. You find the link to book a one-on-one session with me in the video description. Okay, I'll say goodbye for now and see you soon. Your Marc Stollreiter.